And we're back with some more Seattle Kraken franchise mode, and in this one, we have the Year 8 simulation, so let's get things underway. First up, obviously, we have the preseason, and we have to decide who's going to be on our final roster. Now, do keep in mind, we also have Cameron Van Sickle, who is out for an additional 3 to 4 months. He took quite the injury there last year. On February 3rd, he was out for 11 months, I believe, at the time, so hopefully he doesn't have any setbacks here, as it is a grade 3B concussion, so hopefully he can make it back here to 100%. Although when he comes back, there might be some cap trouble. Okay, so we have one preseason game left, and I think I'm ready to make some cuts here. Oettinger, by the way, the guys who haven't played, who are of really good ability, those are the guys who, obviously, as we saw before, were on international duty. So Lindbergh, we're going to be cutting. He had a 68 grade compared to Larsson's 81. Let's see. Actually, let's take a look at their stats. So Lindbergh didn't do too bad. He had a 918 save percentage, but Larsson had a 938 over 4 games, so I'm definitely trusting him over Lindbergh. So we're going to send Lindbergh to the AHL. I would like to keep Lauren up here in the NHL because he is pretty good at offensively, but defensively, he's just not there yet. So we're going to send him down to Palm Springs. Forward-wise, I think we could send down Nizimayev. He is not too impressive with that 50 and 52. I think we'll send him back to the KHL, honestly. Hollander, he has been just about useless the entire time he's been here. I mean, over the course of, how many games is that? 45? He has had 3 points, and he has not even been really helpful defensively either. So we'll send him to the AHL as well. I think I'll send down a Gapanov as well. He wasn't too impressive, and frankly, I would rather keep 8 defensemen on the roster, because that's what we have right now. And honestly, all 8 of these guys, they're pretty impressive, especially defensively. You're seeing 80 defensive grade from Forsmark, 72 from Golyev, who I believe he's an offensive defenseman, so that makes it even more impressive from him. So yeah, we'll send down a Gapanov, and we are going to have to send down one more guy here. I think that's going to be either Koren or Lasila. It may as well be Koren. He's still got some potential left, and I think he could get there if he gets some good development in the AHL, which I don't think he's even played in the AHL yet. Yeah, he's only played in the Slovakian league, so we can send him down to Palm Springs, and hopefully he can get better there. So I believe this is now our roster. You have Oettinger and Larsson in goal. On defense, you have Forsmark, Nemec, Golyev, Kirsanov, Pelech, Kuznetsov, Hughes, who's currently injured, but he'll be back before the regular season starts, I think. Or if not, soon after. Yeah, only 1 to 2 weeks on his injury, a pulled up abdominal muscle. And then you have Brandstrom as well. And at forward, of course, you have Matthews, Fantilli, Arvidsson, Dubé, Onishko, Amirov, Suzuki, Zui, Nurmi, Perry, Dower Nielsen, Hanak, and Lasila. So with all that out of the way, let's get to the regular season simulation of year number 8. Alright, so after 1 month, a look at the team stats. We're 8th currently in goals for per game with a 3.69. But what's concerning me is our goals against per game, where we are the 6th highest goals against per game in the league with a 3.92. So let's take a look at some of the games that we have played here. So we have a 7-0 loss, a 6-3 win, a 6-0 loss, 8-5 win, 4-3 loss, 5-4 win, 6-3 loss, 7-3 win. So it looks like we're either winning big or losing big. We have a winning record, but that ugly goals against average is just, that is not, the way that's going right now, I don't see our record continuing like this. And it's not like we're even in the best position right now anyway. We're 4th in our division, so we could certainly be doing better. So let's take a look at Oettinger and Larsson. 894 and an 899. Not what you like to see, especially not from Oettinger with his history the way it is. I mean, he's shown me before that he's capable of bouncing back, so I'm not that worried about Oettinger. But Larsson, he hasn't proven much to me yet. So this year is definitely the year that he has to do that. Otherwise, we need to find another backup goaltender. Defensively, we've mostly been a mess. I'm not even entirely blaming our defensive core, though, because there are quite a few forwards have been slacking defensively as well. Dower Nielsen, Lasila, these guys who are in the lower 50s. And, Dower Nielsen, he has no points. Lasila, 1 point in 10 games played. Hanak with 2 points. I mean, we're not paying those guys for points, obviously, but they're not doing the jobs defensively either. My point is, we may have to think about trading for a solid defensive forward because these young guys on the bottom 6 aren't cutting it. Not at the moment. I'm kind of interested in Jacob Tepley here, as he has pretty solid defensive category, 18 positioning, 17 hitting, 16 checking, 16 stick checking, and just pretty well-rounded in general, but his defensive category really stands out to me, so I think I would like to trade for him, and what I'm giving up for him is Liam Dower-Nielsen, the rights to Walker Gelbard, and a 4th-round pick. Now, Walker Gelbard wanted a bit too much, or more than I was willing to pay him in free agency, so I decided to leave him unsigned, but we did tender him a qualifying offer, so he's still an RFA under our control. And Liam Dower-Nielsen, I think he's more of an offensive player than a defensive player, yeah, and we don't really need that in the bottom 6 at this point. And he's obviously not going to get time in the top 6 with who we have currently there, so I think Jacob Tepley would make a nice acquisition for the bottom 6. So Dower-Nielsen, the rights to Walker Gelbard, and a 4th for Tepley. We'll offer that trade to Ottawa. And there it is. The Ottawa Senators have accepted our trade offer for Jacob Tepley, so let's complete that trade right now. And they put him on waivers immediately after. You know, you didn't just trade for him or anything. I mean, maybe they were in on the deal for the 4th-round pick and Walker Gelbard, but, you know, I think Dower-Nielsen is the most valuable part of that trade, so whatever. Jacob Tepley's ours now. So here's another look at Tepley. Hopefully he can fulfill his role as a defensive forward on the bottom 6. At least that's where I'm hoping Coach will play him, because we are sorely lacking for those at the moment. Okay, so we've been doing better as of recent. However, I think there's a move that I want to make here, and that would be trading Jiri Lasila. He's already 24. He's more or less an offensively based player, and he hasn't done too well defensively, only 51 grade. That is the lowest as far as forwards go, as far as the whole team goes. So I think we could afford to trade him, because there is a guy in the AHL who I've been overlooking a bit as far as his defensive ability goes, and that would be Keegan Stevenson. He's listed as a two-way forward. His defensive reads at 17. His team player's at 17, which I believe helps out defensively because, yeah, it makes use of his willingness to make use of his teammates, both offensively and defensively. So I believe that would help our team play by calling him up. And most importantly, when we compare him with Jiri Lasila, so we see they're mostly the same offensively. Lasila's a bit better, of course, as he is the offensively based player. But defensively, Keegan Stevenson is much better. Defensive reads at 17, stick checking is at 15 compared to 14. Positioning is better. Hitting is almost as good as Lasila's. Faceoff's not as good, but Stevenson is a winger, so that's understandable. And then checking is much better for Stevenson than it is for Lasila at a 15 compared to an 11. And even physically, they're almost the same. Balance is better on Lasila. Agility is slightly better. Stamina is slightly better. But speed, they're equal. And there's not much of a difference, honestly, physically. Mentally, I'd say Stevenson is better as well. Team player-wise, he's got the 17, as we saw before, compared to Lasila's 14. Determination's at 15 compared to 13. He's just all around, looks like better for a defensive role is Keegan Stevenson. So we're going to call him up to the NHL, and we will be trading Jiri Lasila. Not sure to where, so we're just going to offer him out on a trade and see what we can get for him. And we have exactly one offer from Columbus, Igor Rimashevsky. He's a 2-star talent. Offensive reads at 18. It looks like he's an offensive forward. I'm going to discuss at least they're interested in him, but I'm not interested in Rimashevsky there. So we're going to we're going to take a look at some of their prospects. Graham Mackenzie. He is a 1.5-star talent at 20 years old. Looks like a defensive player based off that checking at 16. Yeah, he's a 2-way forward. Physical's good. Mental ratings I wish were better. Particularly team player. Nothing that really stands out. Let's see if we can get a roster player. See if they have a good defensive forward. How about Liam Foudy? He looks like he's in their top 6 just based off the amount of points that he has. Or if not in their top 6, then he at least plays a significant role. Yeah, they're 13-4-2. I don't think they would want to mess up their roster with what they have going right now. So I think we're going to we're going to see what a draft pick does, or maybe even see what other prospects they have. I mean, Mackenzie isn't terrible. I'm just not a fan of his team player rating at only a 12 compared to where I'd like it to be. But apparently they're not even going to accept this offer, so I don't think it's worth trying to negotiate for him. So I'm going to find a team that needs a center, and that is a rebuilder, so that they can make use out of someone like Lasila. Arizona, they're in win now mode. I'll try to find someone in a rebuild. Boston's apparently in a rebuild. They need a center. They need forwards all around, it looks like, so maybe they'd be willing to pay for Lasila here. Ooh, maybe Sean Couturier for 1 year. I mean, that salary's a bit much. Yeah, never mind. We would have to unload salary in order to get Couturier, because we're already close enough to the cap as it is. I think it would have to be a prospect here from Boston. Josh Matthews, he is 19, fairly well-rounded, but it looks like he's a ways away from the NHL. He only a one-star ability. Let's see if they're willing to give up one of their veterans here that don't cost the amount that Couturier does. If we had salary cap, then Couturier would be perfect, but I don't think that is happening cap-wise. Emilio Peterson looks pretty good. His grade with Calgary in 6 games is a 66, and he only had 1 point, so I'm guessing that means he was good defensively. Even though it doesn't look like he should be good defensively based off his ratings. And he's listed as an offensive forward, though. I want someone who is listed as not only a defensive or a two-way forward, but also has a decent grade. I'm intrigued by Matthias Sapovaliv. He's a two-way forward, 24 years old. His puck handling's at 20. His defensive ratings are average, I would say. Speed's good, acceleration's good. But what stands out to me is that he is capable of some really good grades, even at the NHL level, without even really scoring. Here in his second NHL season, well, not his full, I don't think he's even had a full NHL season yet. But in 30 games, he only had 6 points and had a 60 grade. So that tells me he was really good defensively that season. And that carries over into this season. I mean, he has 9 points so far in 16 games, so I guess he has a bigger role now. But he has a 68 grade. So as we see, yeah, a lot of his overall grade comes from defensively. So I wonder if Florida would be willing to give him up for the right price. It doesn't look like he's even dressed right now, according to this anyway. Yeah, he's not even dressed right now, so yeah, I certainly would not be opposed to getting him. Let's just offer up Lasila here, first and foremost, because that's who we're really looking to trade. But I wouldn't mind adding to this, because Sapovaliv looks really solid. I think we can include a goaltender, Ananas, in this deal. He's already 22. He's still only a half-star ability, so I don't think he's going anywhere. We may as well give him a shot somewhere else. And besides, we already have our guy in net in Oettinger. He's been doing a lot better recently. So I think also, just to even it out, in this deal, I'll give them a third, and they're still not. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. He has a really solid grade, so I'd even be willing to go a second here. So they're looking for Lasila, Ananas, a second, and a third for Sapovaliv. Honestly, I think he's worth it, because those defensive grades for a forward of his caliber, you know, only, what is he, like, only a 2.5-star ability. Those kinds of forwards don't grow on trees in this game. They are kind of hard to find. And even though his defensive ratings don't look like, it doesn't look like he should be good defensively, but he is. And that's been consistent throughout the entire simulation. So I have no reason to believe that should be any different for us. I think part of it honestly has to do with his puck handling being at 20, meaning he probably rarely loses the puck. And you know what? Just given how bad the draft has been for us recently, I would not be opposed to giving this up for Matthias Sapovaliv. In fact, I think I want to try to retain salary here, if I can. Get him at the minimum contract for as long as I can, because we're obviously not in the greatest spot cap-wise ourselves, so I would prefer to get him on that retained salary if I can. It looks like they'll accept his offer, so let's see if it'll go through. I shouldn't have called up Stevenson right away. I thought we were going to just find a trade for Lasila where we would just accept the offer right away, but that is not the case. So I think we're going to have to end up sending somebody down here. I mean, we don't have any games in the next couple of days, so if the trade gets done before then we won't have to send anybody down. But if it gets to the 17th against Tampa and the trade is still not done, then we're probably going to have to send somebody down here. Okay, so we can't even advance a day without sending anybody down. Do I have anyone to put on the injured reserve? I don't think so. Yeah, I guess it's just going to have to... I just called up Stevenson way too early, so I hope we don't lose him to waivers. I don't think we will. 2-star players don't usually get claimed. Yeah, I believe he cleared. I didn't see a notification about him. Yeah, he did clear. I didn't see any notification about him getting claimed, so good. We still have him. Ooh, one of our top defensive prospects in the AHL, Donovan Lauren, goes down for 4 weeks with a sprained finger. I mean, unfortunately, he wasn't doing too well down there point-wise, only 6 points. He had 40 points in 40 games in the ECHL, so I hope he ends up being more than just an ECHL stud, because he has the offensive ratings to do it. He's just a bit underdeveloped everywhere else, so I hope he can get it together there. And there it is. The Florida Panthers have accepted our offer for Matthias Sapovaliv in exchange for Yuri Lasila, a second, a third, and the rights to Wijia Ananas. And obviously they are retaining 40% of Sapovaliv's salary as well. Complete trade. Welcome to the team, Matthias Sapovaliv. So there you go. Hopefully Sapovaliv works out defensively for us as he did for the Florida Panthers, because if he does, then that's a pretty significant acquisition for us defensively. Because grade-wise, he would be our top defensive center. The top defensive forward, for that matter. As a matter of fact, he's better than most of our defensemen right now defensively. Only Brandstrom and Hughes are better. So, Sapovaliv, I really hope you live up to expectations here, because if you do, you may have been exactly what we needed. So, at the start of January here, we are 21-14-6. We're currently second in our division, but there's not a lot of space between us and the Anaheim Ducks, who are currently in 6th. We are definitely in a tight battle here in our division. Let's see how we've improved. So we're second in goals for per game. So we do not struggle with scoring goals. That much is for certain. But as we take a look at goals against per game, we are at a 3.41. So that's gotten better from when we last checked. So let's take a look at the stats for all of our players halfway through the season here. You have Matthews with 48 points, 44 for Onishko, 39 for Dubé, 37 for Brandstrom, 36 for Fantilli. So once again, we are clearly capable of scoring goals. Nurmi with 31, 28 for Gulyev, 27 for Amirov, 26 for Suzuki, 21 for Nemec, 19 for Kirsanov, 17 for Hughes. So he looks like he's focused more on defense this season than offense, because the past 2 seasons he's been 60-point guy, but as of right now, it looks like he's barely even going to get 40. So maybe he's just saving his energy for the playoffs, but, we kind of have to make the playoffs in order to play in them. So hopefully he can get it together here. I mean, maybe it's just that, guys like Gulyev and Brandstrom are taking over the point scoring for him on the back end, but I would like him to contribute as well a little bit more. Arvidsson with 16 points, Sapovaliv with 12 in 35 games. How many for us? Only 1 in 18 games? Really? Well, I certainly hope he's doing his job defensively. Zui with 11 points, Tepley with 11. Then you have Forsmark with 8, Perry with 5, Hanak with 4, Pelech with 1 in 12 games played, so Pelech's only played 12 games. Might want to consider trading him. I mean, we could also keep him, but here's the thing. He's on a $6.25 million deal for the next 2 years. He's only going to get, since he's not playing this year, he's only going to get worse for next year. He's probably not going to play next year either, and that's, $6.25 million in dead cap just sitting on the bench. So he may be on his way out soon. I mean, he's certainly a help defensively, but if coach isn't going to play him, then, why keep him on the roster if he's going to be eating up that much cap? And then you have Kuznetsov with no points in 9 games. I believe he was a defensive defenseman acquisition over the offseason for us. And then Odinger and Larson. So let's check out goaltender stats now. You have a 905 for Larson, really, and a 898 for Odinger. So I would have expected Odinger to be with the 905, but it appears he's kind of struggling this year. He's had some really good seasons for us. So I don't think one bad season is the end of the world. It's just when it's happening that makes it less than ideal. Jimmy Larson, even though his save percentage isn't the greatest, it's not better than anything Odinger has ever put up. As a matter of fact, before this year, Odinger's lowest save percentage was a 906. So that's his average save percentage is higher than Larson's best. Larson, I gotta give him credit. He's winning games. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what the team is doing. I guess the games that Larson's in there, we must just be scoring a lot of goals, but he's getting the wins. As for Odinger, I'm not sure what's happening with him, but he needs to get it together. I'm not trading him, That's for certain, because he's been good for us for too long to, just suddenly drop off like this. So at least for this year, I'm going to keep him. He's not going anywhere. But I would like to see him rebound in the second half of this season, that is for sure. All in all, our players are doing well offensively. Obviously, we've been built for offense, but I feel like we should be doing better defensively at this point, especially with all the defensively capable players that we have. As we take a look at defensive ratings here and, positioning, you have Pelech, Arvidsson, Tepley, Luke Hughes. He's getting good defensively at this point in his career as well. Taking a look at defensive awareness, defensive read, more specifically. Suzuki's up there as well, Fantilli, Kirsanov. So there's no reason that I don't think we should be struggling this badly defensively is my point. But then again, we're one of the best offensive teams in the league. So what do? Do I sacrifice some of that offense to try to fix the defense? Or do we just leave things be and hope that we can get it done as a run and gun team? Because, we're clearly on the push for the playoffs, but is that enough? And at this point, I don't think it even has anything to do with our players. I think it might be our coach. Because his preference when it comes to offense and defense is offense, and he's balanced otherwise. But I'm starting to think, if we were to get a defensive head coach, would we not only be able to score goals, but also be able to keep the puck out of the net, Obviously, we have enough offensive talent at this point to get by offensively without an offensively minded coach, I think. But I'm not going to decide that for right now, because that'll be a thing for next episode. So I'll leave things off here and let me know what you guys think. And the next one, we will make it through the rest of the regular season of year number 8 and hopefully make it into the playoffs. See you guys then.